Yu-Gi-Oh is a game encapsulated by the most peaceful community where nothing ever goes wrong. Except when it does. Stealing, deception, moral dilemmas. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Drama Time, where myself, DZ, and Nimnim will be reading your submitted stories to decide who was truly in the wrong and who was at fault. Am I the asshole, or are you? Stick to the end if you want to learn how to submit your stories. Welcome back, everyone, to another wonky collab. We're doing something slightly different here. It's Drama Time, featuring special guest, I guess technically not special guest if it's the quartet. However, you're not part of the council, Joseph, okay? You're the other council.
This is the intro?
And welcome back to another episode of Wonky Quartet Story Time.
Welcome back to another episode of Doug Tries to Follow the Law and Nadir roasts him for it.
Is Vlad editing this one? Vlad, fuck this fucking show. Put up dual-taining. Put like 30 seconds of dual-taining up. Get people in here. The year was 2005, or maybe 2006.
Why did they put that? Who cares?
What do you mean it's context? What do you mean who cares?
They don't even know what it was. What's the context?
Yu-Gi-Oh was just starting to get really popular in middle school, and I, Blazing and Pachi, was desperate to get my hands on some cards.
Hold. This guy is not actually Blazing
What
and
now?
Pachi,
It's been
right?
one sentence.
This isn't actually Blazing and Pachi. This is a guy pretending to be Blazing and Pachi.
Yeah, he's pretending to be the level 4 with 1950 attack.
Oh, you block the names with the names of cards?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
it's
don't
pretty
just
funny,
like
huh?
let people
Pretty
self-report
cool,
and,
pretty
And you
loud.
gave this guy the name Blazing in Pachi?
Yeah,
You
Blazing
didn't want to
and
call him
Pachi,
like...
with everything else going on in his lore at the time, he was also, attending his local game
There's
store and
5
stuff like
paragraphs
that,
to
right?
this. We made it through 2 sentences.
One day after school while shopping at Target with my mom, I convinced her to get me the Blaze of Destruction structure
Blazing.
deck.
Because
Okay,
he's
very
Blazing
funny,
in
very
Pachi.
funny.
I get it. Okay, I understand.
Before that, I had only had some random cards gifted to me by friends or cousins, including a few staples, which were also probably banned. That day, my mom told me that I could invite a friend over, and I was ecstatic. I knew the core Yu-Gi-Oh rules, but at school, we mostly played with playground rules because making up effects and bending the rules was more fun for us. My friend at the time, who I'll call Dante, had just gotten into the game. His mom had recently bought him the Fury of the Deep structure deck,
Ocean versus
the natural
Industry.
rival of the Fire structure. Yes, exactly. Dante was completely new to the game. I took it upon myself to guide him as we played. However, I'll admit, I wasn't exactly telling him everything he needed to know. I had a basic understanding of concepts like special summoning, but I also repeatedly cheated against him. I'd reuse cards like Pot of Greed and Graceful without him having access or understanding the power of drawing more cards.
Skill issue.
And with... So, at this point, not painting a good picture for himself, but did you guys cheat when you were kids?
Is it cheating if you don't know what's happening? Like, we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh cards like War, just flipping up the top card of the deck and matching those against each other.
He's admitting that he is not telling his opponent, his friend.
He's in
all
middle
the
school.
rules.
But like, he hasn't actually admitted to
I
cheating
know.
or anything. He said, I'd reuse cards like Pot of Greed and Graceful. Yeah, me when I flip up Magician of Faith.
Wait, so hold up. Are you saying he's not admitting to cheating in a story that has a line that says, I'm cheating?
He's not, I'm saying, at the moment, he hasn't cheated yet.
Gage is...
Again, Doug,
All right,
can you please run that back?
I also cheated repeatedly against him. Quote,
Hey,
How interesting. So what is that exactly?
so what, he's just adding back those cards? Like, what's happening?
like from the graveyard,
guess
like,
so.
oh, I'll pick this back up again, yeah?
And with other cards, I would blatantly ignore restrictions and requirements. There we go. That's confirmed and cleared up. On top of that, when using my Infernal Flame Emperor, I would reborn it over and over when it couldn't be special summoned. Unsurprisingly, I won every single match, and Dante got more and more frustrated.
Hold on, before we go through this, I just want to say a friend did this against me too with the Guilford the Legend structure deck boss monster. It says it can't be special summoned, and he's like, well, a tribute summon isn't a normal summon, it's a special summon. So he would just normal summon a 2600 guy. And I didn't believe him, but I couldn't.
My brother used to just normal summon Sword Hunter against me and make me cry. I'm
That's-
pretty sure
dude,
you have
Sword
to like
Hunter's-
special summon
What's
that
Sword
guy.
Hunter?
But like he would just slap it on the board and he'd make
Like,
me
this just
cry.
sounds like normal middle school stuff. I don't know.
What?
Maybe
What's
he'll
Sword
heat his
Hunter?
car later or something.
Also, you guys are lying. There's no way you didn't cheat when you were kids. What?
Oh,
No,
no,
of
I mean,
course it
I
is.
guess
Like,
I would
you don't
like
even know the
try to
rules.
draw extra cards or whatever, but like,
Yeah,
I wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna start making up effects.
Yeah.
That's because you have the imagination of a screen pad baby, you know, like an iPad baby. That's
Dude,
why
have you
you
seen
couldn't think of anything.
TMT
Oh my
intros?
God,
This dude is
sorry.
overflowing with,
we're-
imagination.
We're literally 30 seconds into the episode, and Farfa is already advocating for breaking the rules. Sorry that I respect the law, Farfa. My apologies.
Oh, it wasn't even Sword Hunt.
Eventually-
It was Mirage.
Two
Knight. You
paragraphs
guys know
left. Two
Mirage
paragraphs.
Knight?
We can make it through. We can make it through.
Eventually, I did go softer on him, and I held back some moves to give him a chance so he didn't feel completely outclassed, but I enjoyed winning too much. So I kept cheating with Inferno Flame Emperor, only tributing one monster, and then Dante exploded in anger. He grabbed my Inferno Flame Emperor, ran to the AC unit in my backyard, and scraped it on the metal grate. The card tore, and the foil was completely ruined. I was furious. I immediately ran to my mom, telling her about what happened. She called Dante's mom and demanded that she come and pick him up. When Dante's parents arrived, my mom insisted that they replace the destroyed card. A few days later, Dante's parents dropped off some replacement cards. I was excited at first until I opened the pack, and I quickly realized that they were fake Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Happened.
The kind that you would find at a flea market or dollar store. I can still remember the awful smell and the cheap fake foil patterns and the infinity attack points. My mom told me that I was just... Go on.
I was gonna say the Infinity Attack Points is a classic. The Dark Magic Rabbi.
Oh, yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
Darkly
had
Big
it.
Rabbi. Yeah.
Every warrior was like a junta type instead of warrior. That was like the most popular thing I remember. My mom told me I was just being ungrateful, and fake cards are no different to real cards. Thanks, Judge. After the incident, I never spoke to or played with Dante again, but looking back as a kid, I couldn't help but think maybe getting my card ripped up and compensated with Dark Bigly
There he is.
was
Yeah, you
was
made it.
karma for not playing fairly. From that day on, I made sure to always
This
play
is
the
like
game legitimately.
okay, this is one of those things. I feel like we've all had these moments where like it's something that happens in, elementary school, middle school that you think is like the biggest deal ever, and then like you grow up and you're like, no one fucking like this. None of this matters. Like you just had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Like I'll admit, hand on the Bible, I'll admit here that one time at the playground, my friend ruined my perfectly ultimate Great Moth holographic by dragging it across the sidewalk, and I might have retaliated
Deliberately?
and picked one of his cards and dragged it across the sidewalk, as eye for an eye.
Oh shit! Fuck that guy. What? Did you deserve it?
I felt bad about it immediately afterwards,
Yeah.
but I felt, dude, perfect ultimate Great Moth. But like, have you seen that card? It's so cool looking, and then he just
It's beautiful. It is quite beautiful.
Did you
I
deserve
don't
it though?
know.
did I what?
So what are
Like-
what are we trying to decide
what-
here?
What did you do to piss him off so much?
No, I didn't. No, he just did it on accident.
Oh, dog, that's mean. It was an accident. Oh, shit.
But-
I thought he was just being a dick to
Right,
you
but
or
I was
something.
like, I was like in third grade. Like, I'm not gonna sit here
Oh,
up
yeah,
at
yeah, I know.
night thinking about like I mean, clearly I am, but like,
I was ready for you to be like, yeah, that was like at least 2 or 3 years ago. That was like 2019 at the earliest.
So I think we have 2 points to tell. Like, he's asking if he's the asshole, but I think it's for like 2 different things, I'd say. Like, one, he feels guilty about cheating as a kid, like legitimately cheating. And I think that's one thing he's asking if he's the asshole about. I also think he's asking if he's the asshole for like telling his mom and getting his
and being
parents
ungrateful
involved.
when the solution came through. Like, none of these parents give a fuck about.
Yeah.
Like, real
I think you're
versus
allowed
fake.
to be disappointed at fake cards. I think it's a little bit like
I mean, that's a very kid reaction, but like none of the parents give a fuck. Like they're just like my
Yeah.
kid. Like they're just amicably.
Controversial take. The mom's the asshole here. Like, what the hell is she talking about? Like, fake cards are the same as real cards.
You've never, dude. The parents don't give a fuck. I don't know what. Like that's not a surprise. Like it's paper cards. Like my dad bought me Slifer the Sky Dragon. That as soon as I opened it, realized it was completely fake, and he's like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's real." And it's like, whatever. Like I get it. They all look the same, but the stars aren't the same. God damn it.
Look. I think Dante's the most in the wrong here, though, right? Because admittedly, he did it from his perspective. He didn't know he was being cheated against. Like, he had that reaction to grab a card and destroy it because he was just losing, right? Even though he was losing because he was being
clearly
cheated.
escalated over like hours, right? I mean,
Imagine
That's a YCS. I go to a YCS for hours and I lose all my games. I don't rip up my opponent's
You're not in
cards.
5th grade
Farfa,
either.
you're like 30. Like, I don't know. We're trying to impress like a sense of morality upon a literal 5-year-old.
I think this guy just needed to get it off of his chest. I absolve you of all your sins from 5th grade, Flame Emperor moment.
Okay, all right. Do you really? I know it's just a kid, but that's a unreasonable reaction to destroy someone's card.
no.
He's invited over for a play date. He
And then loses
is
50
handed a
times
deck
in a
of
row.
cards. He is not told how to play the game. He's just told over and over again, you lose, you lose, you lose. And he's not able to ever figure out why he's losing because the person he's playing against is not being consistent in how they're playing because they're cheating.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't have the emotional maturity to be like, hey, man, I think you might be trying to pull one over on me. So, yeah, he's going to lash out like a 5-year-old would. I'm not going to fucking rake this kid over the coals like he raked over the Infernal Flame Emperor. Like, this one 5-year-old played stupid games against another 5-year-old, and he got stupid prizes and Darkly Big Rabbi. I think he knows he was in the wrong. He sent the thing being like, I felt terrible about it. You were right to feel that way, but we're also 5, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think that being young and stuff is obviously part of it. Also, how old is middle school? How are we talk? Is this like?
That's like
Oh,
10.
wait,
right?
I just realized they're
Yeah.
middle schoolers.
It's
Is this like a
13
12-year-old?
12, 13 or something like that.
Yeah, like that
Wait,
is-
hold up,
that
hold
is
up,
an
hold up, wait a minute.
unreasonable reaction.
No. I'm.
Oh,
10,
hold up. Jeff
10.
Jones was winning SJCs at 13.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was gonna say, like, okay, I thought I didn't see the middle school part too, but I was gonna say, even if you like remove the cheating aspect, right? Like, think of like playing a fighting game or like Halo with your friends, right? Like, imagine you've never picked up Halo before, and your friends are like seasoned experts. They're on the MLG circuit, and they're like, "Yo, let's have some fun. Let's just play some games." And you get your ass whooped back to back to back to back. Are you actually?
And you
having
think
fun?
a proportionate
Or,
response
like,
is to destroy their property?
No, clearly
break
not.
the
But I
CD.
think it's
No, but-
a total possibility with the like. Have you not like Gage is describing like what happens all the time, right? Like it doesn't have to be
Like,
Yu-Gi-Oh. Like
it's
no
fun for
fun
all
losing.
these other
like
kids to win. Yeah, it's not fun to lose.
I don't know.
So like, why couldn't the kids suggest like, I've never played Halo. You guys are all on the pro circuit. Why don't we play like Fusion Frenzy or something? I don't know, like something that we all have a chance of.
Like it's
winning at.
clearly an outburst that like wasn't a reasonable reaction. But I'm not gonna like crucify a 10-year-old over getting mad about losing for 6 hours straight.
Yeah, for sure. It is what it is. It's a learning moment, and I'm sure both, at least one of these guys has learned from the experience. But at the same time, it's like that is a very over-the-top reaction to losing in a game, right?
I mean, what do you want us to say? Like, why did they send us this story? They conclude this story with being like, yeah, they probably overreacted, but they were a kid, and I was clearly in the wrong for cheating
They
to
wanted
win
to get
over
it
and
off
over
their
and over
chest.
again.
Like
Yeah, if this is just therapy for you, that's fine. If this is
Yeah.
confessional for you, say 5 Hail Marys, dude. You're okay.
Like this sounds like
Yeah, but
every
we-
encounter I've
we-
had against a Magic player. It's people have tried to teach me Magic like 5 times, and all they do is give you a deck, and then they combo, and they're like, "Isn't this cool?" And it's like, "What's a mana? How do I play this?" Literally every single time someone has tried to teach me Magic, that is exactly how it has gone, and it's like no one like I get this kid. I ran that guy's Black Lotus across the AC unit after that.
Oh shit!
Well,
Damn.
you should actually be in prison for that.
The one thing I'm still curious: do you think he should have gotten his mom involved, or like, do you think back then he
No,
realized
you're a
I'm
kid,
cheating
you don't
the
know
fuck
what
out of
else
his
to
daughter, this
do.
kid?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I should just like eat the punishment, and that's getting my card demolished. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
you get your mom involved for being a little asshole. Like,
No, I think
they're
absolutely. You're a
kids.
minor. What do you do in that situation? You need an adult to resolve not really a complicated situation, but a heated
Because
situation.
they're like
should be-
absolving themselves as a kid in the moment. They're like, well, that was mean that he did that. Let's not worry about that. I've been cheating him all day, hustling him. Like that's why I think later on he realized that it didn't work.
Well, a lesson to be learned for all of us. Don't get mad, just get good. Skill issue.
All right, so this one comes from Elon Musk. Around 10 years ago, there was an official Yu-Gi-Oh tournament being held in my city for kids aged 12 and under. Oviraptor. Did you write this? Did you choose the name?
I chose the name, yes. I replaced the name.
No, we're not doing that. Malicious, was 13 at the time. So naturally, I lied about my age to get in. The other kids there didn't seem to mind when I told them about it, and mostly laughed it off. I just wanted to duel with some new faces. I sit down against my first opponent, Stratos, and I sigh.
Read the original name real quick.
What do you think it is? Go to the comments and type in what you think the original name is. First one was Oviraptor. What do you think it is, chat? Do you think it's something clever?
The protagonist is Oviraptor. The antagonist is...
It's Baby Ceratosaurus. Yeah. Okay. Most kids at the venue are around 11 or 12 and seem to have a decent understanding of the game. Not my opponent. Across the table is a child that couldn't be older than 5 or 6. Yeah, tell him. Fucking get that kid. Most of these kids knew how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, but not my moron of an opponent who was 5.
The 5-year-old.
Yeah, what do you want me to say? Oh,
I love the
good
way
job.
12-year-olds talk about younger kids, because like when you're 12 and 13, you seem like, I mean, you're so, like, I love the transition when you're like on top of the world at 8th grade because you're like the oldest in the school, and then you get to freshman year and it's like, oh, I'm a little baby. I'm a little whiny baby. So I love it.
When you get to college and you just refer to people who are in high school as like 12, you know, it's just a blanket
something
statement that you make
changes
for anyone. So
it's really funny now that kids can have social media because you get to see that in real time. Like someone will post a TikTok that's like, I don't want to hear any shit from any kid who was born in 2010, and half the comments are like, 2010 are not little kids, okay? They are teenagers. And the responses will be like, yeah, but 2012 babies, they still got some growing up to do. And I'm like, this is so cute. There's no difference to me. You're all just drooling.
From my
idiots.
perspective, I didn't even know they were still making them after the year 2000. So
yeah,
the thing is, like, I could see like, you
perspective.
know, a kid, and I can't tell if they're a freshman in high school or elementary school. Like, I don't really understand kid ages. Like, I didn't have a little brother or anything to go off of. So when I'm experiencing it, you're just basing it off relativity. But now I'm like, oh, these are just all little. Like, I don't fucking know shit.
Across the table is a child that couldn't be older than 5 or 6. I immediately know there's no way this kid can read cards, as we're not in an English-speaking country, and at his age, it's unlikely he can even read our native language. Let me deconstruct this real fast. What the hell?
Is he being racist to his like 5-year-old opponent?
You could just end the sentence that
playing
can't
with
read cards.
English. Yeah, they're playing with English language cards in a non-English speaking country. Sits down across from a 5-year-old, and he's like, oh, this motherfucker can't speak English.
I mean, he can't read. He's 5.
I bet this kid's never read Catcher in the Rye. He doesn't know a classic.
He doesn't know Charles Dickens.
Our first duel begins, and Stratos goes first. My fears become reality. Oh, give me a break, you're 11. As Stratos immediately slams down a Blue Eyes White Dragon without tributing and tries to attack on the first turn. The rest of the duel is a blur, as I constantly have to explain to him what cards do or do not do. If that wasn't enough, Stratos doesn't quite believe me and can't actually read the cards himself. I can't call the judges to police the entire duel, so I constantly have to ask other players sitting next to us to vouch that I'm not lying. After a grueling duel, I win game 1 and immediately go report my victory to the judges. This is my first Yu-Gi-Oh competition, and I wasn't used to the best of 3 formats. Sounds like this kid isn't the only one who can't read, idiot.
And then I walk back to the table, and he is side decking. He's full smoke screening into the meta deck. I've never been more horrified.
He pulls off his mask, Scooby-Doo style, and reveals he's 35
Like, this
years
isn't,
old.
like, what are these stories
This is a
today?
trench
Like,
coat
what's the
with 3
juice?
more
Like,
babies.
one time I went to locals when I was 13 and played against a little kid that was probably like 8 who had a whole deck full of top loaders that he wasn't shuffling. First move, normal summon Obelisk. I just had a good laugh with his parents and I got the win. Like, none of this anyway. These are
Only
just
in the next
kids.
round when I moved to game 2 with my next opponent did I realize my mistake and that I screwed him over.
You didn't screw him over. He's 5 years old. He had no fucking clue what he was doing.
This
Like,
is what he feels bad over? He entered a competition in the wrong age group, got paired against a toddler, and he wrapped the matchup
this
early.
has made me
That's it?
reevaluate all the things that like I'm still holding from like, you know, when I was an asshole to a random
Exactly.
kid from 5th grade. Because now that I'm reading this like from other people, it's like none of this fucking matters. Like I'm gonna let after this recording, I'm letting go that perfectly ultimate great moth. I no longer feel bad about it.
Let me choke out this last sentence. I still feel guilty about it to this day, so if Stratos is still out there playing Yu-Gi-Oh,
He's
I
not.
hope he can forgive me. Doug, you're 100% correct. It's just therapy. They want us to tell him it's okay, it's all right. What you did 15 years ago doesn't matter. I'm sure it didn't even leave an impression on this kid.
Yeah,
you can move
probably
on.
not.
I will not tell him that. I bet that kid's life was ruined because you did that to that day. I bet they went on
He
to
became a
become a drug
Magic
addict.
player and went down a dark path.
This shit stings,
And no one deserves
man.
that.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
so crazy. This is like if I signed up for the Dragon Duels just to like feel something. And I incinerated this kid
Feel
game
something.
one, and then afterwards I was like, I submitted the result, and I was like, damn, I feel really bad. I didn't give the kid the chance to run it back.
Even though you would have killed him.
not
I'll
that
tell you guys,
not
like,
that
The
I-
second game have
Yeah,
changed
that's
anything.
What that's what he feels bad about. Not that he entered at 13 years old, which he couldn't
Yeah,
anyway.
wait,
like he
okay,
didn't make the kid suffer
let's
for
talk
one
about-
more game. I think that's
Yeah,
like
and
mercy.
He's like, what is that?
Let's talk about this first part. Why are we even mentioning the 13 years old? He clearly laughs it off in 30 seconds. He entered this tournament, kind of implicitly knew he had done something wrong, and then is confronted with the consequence of that, which is you're going to play against a very young child because there was the expectation you're a very young child too, so the whole thing feels kind of dirty, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get that, but like, get over it. You're 23 at minimum now. Like, come on. I think you have atoned enough. I think all of us have had an experience where we played against a very young child who didn't really know what they were doing. It's a tough thing to navigate. I am pretty sure you didn't ruin this kid's life.
What do you guys do in that situation? Have you ever been in that position?
have.
Because I've dueled
all the
against
time,
an
yeah.
actual
You just
child
kill him and
before.
move on. I think that you
Yeah,
can like sit
that's
there,
what
like
I-
you don't showboat. You don't showboat. Like I had a friend that
You,
like
you don't let
full
him have a
Morgan
turn
combo.
or something?
No. Like it.
I
'cause, like, at the end of the day,
take as minimum actions as possible. I explain everything I'm
Exactly.
doing, and I try to guide them through what they could do as well. And then afterwards, you know what I do? I run up, I give the result, I come back down, and I go, so tell me about your deck. And they want to tell you about all the cool cards that they're
Yeah.
playing. They want to tell you about the obelisk that their mommy gave them. They want to tell you about the Salamangrade starter that they purchased with their birthday money. All
When
right?
you're 25.
And they will love to talk to you about that shit all day.
Yes, that's
So
exactly.
I had a weird encounter because I was dueling against a literal child like 10 years
you
ago.
gotta stop entering dragon duels.
What can I say, man? I just wanted to feel something. But the thing was, their parent was sitting next to them, and I was playing Infernity, so you can imagine how terrible I felt,
Oh
right?
man, yeah.
So I'm like Infernity comboing, like special Archfiend Surge, special Make Lavalval Chain, and like I just have a child like who can barely like hold his cards, you know, because they're so big in the palm of his hands, and his like parent is just sitting cross-armed, like staring.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
You know,
You
and I
should
was
have just summoned like 2 synchros and passed.
it's so awkward, you know.
It's
like I
awkward,
just,
but there's
oh.
nothing you
well,
can
no,
do.
I mean, like this
I-
would.
Sorry,
I don't know,
I've been
like-
into this experience a couple times actually, like playing. The one that sticks with me is I spectated Duel No like a couple months ago. I was watching my friend play full power 10 Pi, and he's up against a kid with one Fallen of Albaz structure deck. And
Yeah.
it is the most painful thing to watch my friend tell his opponent he can't do anything as he eviscerates him. And then that's the quickest thing you can do. You just 2-0 them. You get up from the table and walk away. If you want to make the kid feel less bad, like Joseph said, you go talk to him and tell him about like how he got into the game and stuff like that. You know, keep them interested and excited. But
They love to talk about their cool cards.
Yes.
They love
Well,
to talk about
I
the
think
cool
the thing
cards
about
in their
this,
deck.
especially like at locals and stuff like that, like I know it sounds stupid, but it really does figure itself out because after a round or two, all those people that are all like that in that realm are now playing against each other and having a much better time. So it's like, yeah, you just got to kill them and like move on. Like I was playing Labyrinth at locals when I was like testing that deck, and it
Gotta
felt
stop
awful.
using that term, by the way.
Kill the
kill
kid,
him.
yeah, kill
like,
the kid.
like, just-
What?
just-
Oh, sorry,
just win
pop the,
duel, you
baby.
know?
Fuck. Like, what do you want me to say?
It's I am happy that as someone who's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh my entire life, I've been on both sides of this equation, right? And I remember in like 2005 showing up to a very casual locals with a singleton ass deck full of all the cards I thought were cool, including some cards that had just been banned. The ban list had just come out, the first ban list. And it was a free play local. I just shuffled around for a little bit with my brother, and finally we sat down and played each other because we didn't know anyone. Some spectators came over. They looked at us playing. They were like, you know, those cards are banned, and we were devastated. I was like trying not to cry, and they were like, don't worry, we'll help you. And they talked to us for a little while about the cards that we liked and thought were cool. They got together a bunch of little common staples for us little kids. And I walked out of there with like a bad but still complete kind of dark world strategy. And like, I think as someone who is older in a space where you can encounter someone who is younger and at the start of their Yu-Gi-Oh journey, that's kind of the obligation that you have, is you have to make them feel welcomed. You have to make these kids feel like they will grow as a part of being in this community. Not that they're going to lose all of their games. And I've seen it happen dozens of times where a kid shows up, goes 0-4 4 weeks in a row, and then starts to kind of find their footing both socially and within the game itself.
I mean, I feel like I had a similar experience where the first locals I showed up to, me and my friend showed up with, like, we didn't know. We had, like, a ton of band cards in our deck. Same era, like, 2005, 2006. We had, like, you know, BLS and Chaos Emperor Dragon, and, like, everyone was super nice about it. They showed us the ban list. Like, they had a printout of it, and then we, like, you know, took out cards. Cool. One person even wrote, I really wish I could find this. One person wrote me, like, a list of, like, 80 cards that I could throw into a deck that, you know, like DD Warrior, like just staples. Like it literally was a list that said staples. Changed my life. I was like it was like a Pokedex for me. And that, like, without that experience, I might have not, you know, played Yu-Gi-Oh after that. But me and my friend had a great time, and it was because even though we went 0-4, the adults there were super friendly and kind of, you know, showed us the ropes a little bit. So I think that is important but they're not like showboating. I don't know. They were really nice. Someone gave me an Axe to Despair when it was $10, and I like lost my shit.
We'll do the Dan Henschel. Virtual sin forgiveness. You are forgiven.
Yeah, I don't think you're the asshole for like wanting to eject yourself from like the teaching scenario. That's not like fun for a lot of people. Maybe you're there just to enjoy your day. But I think you are the asshole for entering this tournament over age and expecting more, I guess is what I'm saying is like, did you expect to play like against the next Jeff Jones or like probably like some toddlers, right? Like it's I don't know what you expected.
Man signs up for 12 and under tournament, gets mad about playing a 12 and under kid. I mean, what do you want? Like,
I mean, okay, I'll be honest. I feel like that's maybe not the greatest environment is like holding a tournament, right? Like I feel like for that kind of age range, it should maybe sort of be like maybe like a demo of sorts.
No.
Right?
This happens at. Have you watched Dragon Duels at a YCS? This is how it goes. There's like half the kids that have starter decks and half the kids that have full power meta. But after a couple rounds, they just weed each other out, which is fine.
This is like a tournament at like a library. Like you got to ask yourself: is it a tournament or is it a daycare? Like at that point, like, Is it just you drop the kid off, watch him for 5 hours? They slam some cards on the table, do whatever, laugh, giggle. Go home. Like,
all right, real quick question. So you are saying that you take like minimum actions, you don't like do any like crazy plays, you just do the minimum to like
to kill
get game?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
To win.
Okay,
to win.
So, but question: what if you like don't make the access to pop the Mirror Force, and then suddenly before you know it, you're like,
still, that's
sorry,
part
when
of
I
the
say
thing.
when I
like,
say minimal actions, I mean the minimum number of actions required to get to lethal.
Yeah, you still kill their
like,
whole
I'm
board and then hit for game. You just don't like showboat.
All right. Right, okay.
Are you asking if I did get hit with, like, the quaking Mirror Force? Like,
No,
do I
well,
suddenly
it's like-
get
it's
grumpy
like-
about it? Like,
Well, no, because, I mean, you get very specific into the decks here, but there are some decks where you can just put 8,000 in attack, but there's other
Farfa,
lines
did
where
you
could get
lose to a
8,000
5-year-old? Is that what you're trying to get out ahead
No,
of?
I haven't been in this situation, but I'm just saying, like, there is a world where maybe you don't make the thing that pops first.
No,
or maybe
you absolutely
like,
you
just
just
put
like
lethal
I would consider access code 53 popping all the cards and attacking is like the fastest way to kill, like, or fastest way to like lethal.
Yeah.
For sure.
I never used to go for high rarity cards, mostly because I don't have the money.
Next.
But mostly because I don't have the money, but also because I never cared. But when I got the Fiendsmith cards, I fell in love with the deck. A few weeks playing with those cards, I set a mission for myself. Collect all the Fiendsmith quarter century secret rares. This mission looked impossible because I'm a brokey. So poor that I only managed to get the Fiendsmith set when it dropped a few months ago, and I'm still paying for it 2 months later.
Hold up. Don't do this. We all know the people that have $2 in their bank account and have high rarity cards. Don't do that. Like I'm not like joking here. Like I've been in this spot.
Joke, yeah.
Like I've had $100. This is like college. I had $100 in my bank account. I spent 90 of it on a high rarity volcanic core, and like it feel like you don't do this. You don't need high rarity. You don't need high rarity cards. I promise. You don't need them.
Doug, well, you don't. what you don't understand is that there are modern problems that have modern solutions. You can Klarna TCG player and card market orders, okay? It's fine to buy QCRs on finance, all right? It's
What's
2025.
what's
You gotta
Klarna?
relax.
It's like
it's
something on your Apple Wallet where
Do
you
you know
can
what it
pay
is?
in segments or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're always
it's
like,
like
could
You
pay
people
in
have
4 months or
invented
something.
so many new ways to be broke.
Yeah.
That's
It's like a
unbelievable.
Never used
30%
anything
fucking
like that.
interest
I
rate, by the
question
way.
Do you guys,
people
do
that use that.
you guys know the
Pull
people
up.
that complain about card prices and then buy a new box every time it releases and damn, didn't pull the Mulch Army. Buy the fucking Mulch Army! Like, Jesus. Anyway, okay,
Do you know
don't
what,
do this.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but one trend I noticed, maybe it's just like my specific area, but it's like it always felt like the people who are like the poorest and are kind of like, oh, can you spot me some money for like some sleeves and stuff? They're the ones who have like the high rarity cards.
Oh, yeah,
And I'm like,
always,
where did
yeah.
you get this from?
Oh, so we're actually just doing like I expected this was going to be the case when Gage was on the show, but we're just like, oh, these fucking pores. I'm down to do it.
No, you
There's a
shouldn't
difference
spend
between
money
being
needlessly.
poor
Like,
I
you
and
know,
think
being
I've-
poor and yeah.
Just like sort of a life.
You ever notice the homeless guy is always the one playing the pimped out branded deck?
This
That's
guy's
like
literally
a
saying,
Jordan
this
song.
guy says,
He's
got
I'm
the Air
so, like, he
Jordans.
says poor
Like-
twice. He said poor 4 times in the opening sentence. Like, it's him saying it.
No,
Like,
no, you're right. It is, especially for people who play Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know, it's hard to divorce like the macro elements of Yu-Gi-Oh from like super predatory loot box lottery style shit from like, oh,
well,
I
and the
need the most
pressure from your
shiniest, the
peers,
best one.
you know? Like, oh, you gotta
Yeah,
have
like,
the, you know,
legitimately-
low rarity doesn't matter. Like,
Have you
As
ever
someone
felt
who is
that?
also in that position, buy low rarity, buy singles. That's the only way to play this game. And test on Dueling Book for as long as possible before you commit to anything.
never
in
heard of that
paper.
site before.
Yep.
Just look up pictures of them. Just print out
just gotta
pictures
caveat
of
it.
QCR.
All right.
And look at them.
Can I
yeah.
get back to it?
Yeah, go on,
Okay,
go on.
okay. So he was so poor that he was only able to pick up these Fiendsmiths a couple months ago on debt, and he's still paying it off. But he recently pulled a collector rare White Rabbit. What is White Rabbit? Like Silhouette Rabbit or something?
Malice. It's the new Malice.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Since I had zero interest in that deck, I saw this as an opportunity to get my hands on my first ever Fiendsmith QCR. I went to a locals where I was friends with the owner and made a deal to get a copy of QCR Requiem for that White Rabbit until Murphy's Law kicked in. If something can go wrong, it will.
Great deal, by the way, right?
I actually have no idea. Is that a good
I have
deal?
no clue. Zero
Oh, actually,
idea.
it's a terrible deal. I'm looking it up. White Rabbit goes for $250 and Fiendsmith goes for $200. He was getting sauced.
No, that's about I mean, that's still a good. If you're going to the
Requiem's
locals,
probably a little bit better.
If
think
you're
they
going
added
to a
in, like,
locals,
a-
that's actually a pretty good swap. That's fine. 1 week later, I decided to get to my locals earlier and practice a bit with the players. I'm in the middle of a game when a guy that I have never seen before called Dimensional Shifter. Oh, this is his name. Comes into the store with a
Oh, his
beer
name
in
is
his
Dimensional
hand.
Shifter?
No, Dimensional Shifter's just.
It's not on his birth certificate.
He's a casual drunk. He walked into the store with a beer in his hand. I didn't care that much because where I'm from, people drink all the time. Where I'm from, people drink all the time. What
You
does
from
that
the
what does that
world?
This is
Like,
a-
fuck.
It's an Eastern European locals, trust me.
I just shaked his hand, and that was it, until he decided to sit by my opponent's side and accidentally dropped his beer all over my extra deck. I was trying my best not to panic, but I had seen what the damage was. At first, it didn't look like beer got inside the sleeves, except for, of course, the one card I needed not to be damaged, my beautiful, beloved QCR Requiem. The card was not damaged yet, but when I noticed the beer inside the shield, I tried to pull it off, but for some reason the shield wouldn't open, probably because of the beer. Now I'm in autopilot mode and did the first thing that came to my mind, which now I know was stupid in hindsight, and got a little bit of hand sanitizer, put a little bit on the top of the sleeve while holding the card upside down, making sure
What is
it
that
wouldn't
supposed
go
to
inside the sleeve, and waiting for it
Yeah,
to
hold
dry.
up. Wait, what?
What are you talking about?
What does that
I'm gonna
do?
put it in the washer to get the beer off. Like, what?
Wait, what was the plan there? I really don't understand.
I guess he's not thinking straight.
No, he
He's
reacted.
Really
It was a shock
dedicated.
reaction. I get it.
Yeah, I guess the alcohol
Yeah.
gel didn't fully dry yet because that was what damaged the card when I pulled it out. I got mad that the guy didn't even try to help with the card and didn't seem to care.
I mean,
much
he's
attention.
drunk. Like, he's an alcoholic.
He's also,
I
you don't know
like-
the guy at all. He's
Yeah.
a complete stranger. to you.
Where? Hold on. Where was this? Where did you get that from, Doug?
That he's an alcoholic? Oh, that he's walking around with an open beer walking into a private business
I will
mostly?
also be.
Like,
Nobody does that. Like
It's not a random dude. What do
that's
you
still like that's not a normal thing. I got mad at the guy and he didn't even try to help with the card. Didn't seem to care. He even decided to blame it on me because it wasn't the beer that damaged the card technically. But a few weeks later we talked, he apologized, and I decided not to ask him to pay for the card.
This
Most
is
of
why
my
you're
friends
broke.
called me
I mean, I don't
stupid
know.
for letting the guy get away with it, but I feel like accidents happen, and it's
No.
not okay for me to force somebody to pay for something that maybe they can't even afford. You can't even afford it. You're buying cards on deck.
You ever heard?
can't
Okay,
even
I
afford
gotta.
the card.
I think people have heard this, so
pull
I don't
them
want to
back,
like
dude.
sound like a cliche here, but I think the luxury goods situation is if you can't afford two of it, you shouldn't buy one of it. If you can't afford two Qs, like just
So I can't afford 2 houses, so I shouldn't buy one
that's not
house.
I mean, no, that doesn't
Yeah, I
work
know,
for
I know.
that. I'm saying for like high rarity cards. Like if you can't. Anyway, I gotta tell my little
So
story
what you're saying
here.
is commit to the playset.
No, like, okay, so this, I've told a story before, I'm
sorry,
sure you
go on,
guys
go
have
on.
heard this, but when I bought a 94 Spellground for the first time, the first locals I went to it, a friend of a friend spilled red pop all over it, and I got a little mad because it was, a very expensive mat,
first
and
one.
luckily I
Joseph,
got it
did
out.
this shit to you. Wait, oh my God, you just brought back a story. I'm sorry, Doug. Go ahead and finish, and then I have a story.
No, I was just going to say, like, if I was able to get the stain out, if I was not 100%, that guy was paying for the mat. Like, are you kidding me? Like what? You just like this guy just ruined $200 worth of cards. Like, of course you're paying for it. I'm taking this guy to small claims court.
I
Yeah.
literally did this to Joseph, man. We were at Alex's place for YCS in Las Vegas. And first time I think I met you, Joseph, or something like that. We're
Oh
chilling.
my god, yeah, this is like my first impression.
Yeah, bro, yeah. I'm having a couple beers, we're playing some games. And he has his fresh MBT mat that he just had made. It's like a cloth mat. And he got Malicious Bane when that was worth the big bucks, dude. And I'm getting a little silly, and I accidentally spilled the beer. It goes on his mat. It's not like a lot, but there's enough on there. And Joseph, nice guy, bro. Nice guy. He lets it go. He says, don't worry about it. None of the cards were damaged. I think did you have
Different
to replace the
environment,
sleeve
but
for
yeah.
malicious or whatever? But
Yeah, it was like a sleeve, if nothing else.
yeah. But like I literally had this happen to me or something like that. And for what it's worth, I think I did say I was ready to pay for whatever happened if I needed to replace
Yeah.
something. I would have done that on the spot. And of course, like, we're like acquaintances. This is a complete stranger, though. Like, how do you handle a complete
Yeah.
stranger you've never met before? Might be a little inebriated. What do you do?
This is the very important caveat that I think you guys might have missed here. It's that it technically wasn't him who damaged it.
That's
It was,
not.
like, it
That's
was
100. Like, I
self-inflicted.
know that's what. No, the dude spilled
is
beer
relevant.
all over
It's
your
not
shit.
completely
Like
irrelevant. No,
like
no,
just
I know,
because
I
the
know,
guy
but it is
damaged it
relevant.
more trying to get out of the sleeve with hand sanitizer for some fucking reason doesn't mean that the
no,
beer
but-
didn't damage. You can't go spill a beer on your cards right now and you tell me if they're damaged.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, according to him, it wasn't damaged.
But
until,
this guy,
like,
I'm
'cause
so
the
sorry.
sleeve's
Like,
protected.
I need to say this because I need this guy. Like, I do this too. This guy's just letting people walk over him. Like, he's selling
Yeah, for
himself
sure.
short by saying, "Well, it might have been the hand." No, the dude spilled fucking beer on your deck. Like, don't sell yourself short. Like, fuck.
I'm also
Stand up for
curious,
yourself.
And
It's
if you feel uncomfortable, asking him to pay full because you think you like owe some of the like damage to the card to your own actions, ask him to compensate you for part of it,
Yeah.
man. Like, fucking hell, this is an expensive ass card.
I think it's crazy that they didn't even have a discussion about it. Like, it felt like he just let that go completely.
I think he
which
did.
is-
Yeah.
I'm wondering if his opponent did he say this guy was friends with his opponent and came in and sat down next to him? How was he reacting? Is he like, I don't know, scolding his friend?
No,
for being
he's just a
drunk?
random
Like,
guy.
what do
No,
you
he's not a
do?
friend. He just started spectating.
This is just a random dude, just a random.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
Nah, I mean, gotta
Like,
stand
if
up
a
for
drunk
yourself.
person accidentally keys your car, like, you're not just gonna be like, well, they were a little. It's like, no, they're paying. Like, I don't care if I don't know you.
I
Like,
really feel like you're missing the important thing, because that is like direct action consequence, right? This is an action that wasn't the consequence but led to it, right? Like, it is important to recognize, right? He says the beer didn't. Do
I
the
think
damage.
it's insane that
was
you're
the
actually
problem.
like taking
I don't
that
think you
seriously.
can know
Like,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
serious. Go spill
I
a
don't
drink
think-
on your fucking
I will
cards.
admit,
Like,
this whole alcohol gel hand sanitizer, fucking stupid. I don't know what you were thinking.
Well, of
like,
course,
this doesn't
yeah,
make
of
any
course.
other sense.
Like, right?
It's equally as stupid, but still, it's like, he wouldn't even have to do that weird action if it wasn't for the dude spilling his beer. Like, no, like, you
But
gotta
it is
stand
such
up
a
for yourself.
strange thing to do. Like, I'm gonna gel up my sleeve.
Yeah,
like,
I
with the
can't defend
QCR
it either. It
inside?
doesn't
Like,
make any sense. But still,
I don't know
no,
what the
like-
plan was.
like
yeah.
like accidents happen, right? And maybe it just, it was fine. Like none of the other cards were damaged.
No, like
right?
I
Except the one that-
actually think like I'm going insane. How do you not think spilling a beer on your fucking cards affects the cards? Like he said he couldn't open the sleeve. I don't think that just happened. It was because there was fucking beer in there. Like
Here's what I think happened. I think the guy spilled the beer on the card, and he was like, oh my god, my cards are going to be damaged. And it did that thing where the water wicks to the center of the sleeve and, like, presses into it.
Yeah.
So that when you try to pull it out, a lot of the ink will come off with it. So the guy started freaking out and put hand sanitizer on it, I guess to make it easier to
well, because he's
open.
not acting
Then when
rationally. Because it's he's
yeah, of course.
responding.
Then when he actually opens the sleeve and pulls the card out, the ink comes off with it, and the guy who spilled the beer was probably like, see, it was fine until you tried to pull it out
Yeah,
through
he's
the
like
hand
some
sanitizer.
fuck-ass lawyer
That
or
means it's your
something.
fault.
It's the technical cop out. It's like, well, you pulled the knife out, right? I just put it in there, right? Yeah. That's what.
Your
that's
face
where
walked
the,
into my fist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one where I think we can vastly improve this guy's life. You should have had him on the hook at least for a little bit of the payment. Generally, don't be buying high rarity stuff if you don't have the money for it. You said you pulled a white rabbit. Stop pulling. Buy singles. Come on.
Maybe that
I mean,
was
it
his
could've been
locals entry
packs
pack.
from-
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
If it was an entry pack, you're good. You're golden.
But then sell that, and
No,
now
that-
you have 250, which pays back. I feel so bad because like I know that like I think I said the peer pressure thing earlier, and Nadir said like is that like a thing, and it's like I don't at the locals that I've
Yes.
gone to my entire life, all the good players have used high rarity cards, and they definitely make fun of you. Maybe less nowadays, but there's definitely like. I think there's a difference in mindset. Like, I think there is peer pressure, especially at locals where a lot of people are playing high rarity cards that, like, you're not going to be taken seriously. Like, I know friends in tight financial situations that have, like, bought high rarity stuff, and every time I'm like, you don't need this. And it's like, oh, well, I'm getting on a deal. It's like, you don't need it. Like, I feel so stupid. Like, you don't need it. Like, you don't need it. Life lesson.
I'm gonna have to give the obligatory European take here, but this is definitely an Americanism. Like,
We don't drink beer in locals. You don't
being-
like spending money. Like, I get it. Yeah.
Lauding having high rarity cards over someone and making someone feel bad for not having high rarity cards. Like, this feels like very much.
I think it is very
the
much
third
American,
world country
yeah.
with the Gucci belt situation.
Yeah. I apologize for any errors in my English. It's not my first language. I just know this is about to be written with perfect English every time.
This is
that
the
happens.
kid from the
Exactly.
first
It's all- every
story.
time.
This is the
Yeah,
5-year-old from the first story.
yeah.
When I was a kid,
across
this
from me, I'm
guy,
okay.
my friend Alistair the Invoker, and I got into paper Yu-Gi-Oh towards the end of 2023, thanks in most part to Master Duel. Alistair picked up the Trap Trick Structure Deck while I picked up Dark Worlds, and we used those against each other for a bit. After a short while, though, Alistair and I started picking up singles. Blah blah blah. We don't blah blah blah. Some time passes, and Alistair tells me that she is.
Okay, all right.
What?
for a bit,
Okay,
but I-
like,
dude,
what
when
are you doing?
I mentioned, English writing major. The class I took very early on was how to make something as short as possible. Don't put. Okay, I'll read it. I'm cool. I'm
It's
cool.
storytelling.
No, but okay.
It's
While
building
you're
the
reading it,
mood,
while you're
like-
reading it, everyone, put in your head right now. I want you. Can we start a prediction in the Farfa chat? Will the next 3 sentences out of Doug's mouth matter to the story? All right.
Can you set a word count?
No, this
limit
is
for the
me. No,
next
he's just
stories?
he's just telling a story. He's just telling a story. Let me give him the time of day. I'm sorry. I'm being too mean. These aren't English essays. Here we go. After a short while, though, Alistair and I agreed to start picking up singles to boost strategies and started looking into nightmares as they were applicable to our decks and were cheap. We don't normally play against anyone else, but sometimes do. But we mainly play against each other and choose what decks we play on the fly. Is this going to be a Dark World nightmare? Anyway, some time passes, and Alistair tells me she has a funny card to use against Dark Worlds. I tried guessing, but we ended up learning that the card was Abyss Dweller when we normally play. As time passed,
Funny
Alistair
card,
continued...
by the way.
Yeah. As time
It's like,
passed...
sorry, but like, I'm gonna bring in a funny card to make our game a little bit more funny.
Abyss Dweller.
Abyss
Hee hee ha ha.
Dweller versus.
As time passed, Alistair continued using more and more cards like this, justifying their use because it's funny. So just so we're clear, this is where I was going to pick up this next part. So let's see if any of that... Fast forward a bit, and we pick up new decks to play against each other. They're not even Once more over the course of a year, Alistair picks up Exosister based, while I pick up Swordsel Tenyi, also based. After a while of playing these decks, she eventually made next dimensional. Like, okay, actually though, like, what the fuck was the point of the first? Shifter was annoying but tolerable, but the barrier was a nightmare to play against, considering she would know what deck I was playing beforehand, and she oftentimes got to set up her full Exosister board with D barrier set. Again, justifying its use because it's funny. Alistair eventually starts putting more cards into all their decks, like the Dogmatica Winda package and Fire. So basically, they're just main decking side deck cards. Hee hee. Okay. It feels like I can't do anything at all if she opens one of those floodgates against my decks. Yeah, that's because they're floodgates. Okay, here we go. I've complained and asked Alistair to remove said cards, but Alistair refuses, saying either it's funny or her decks need them to compete with my decks. Alistair also raises valid concerns about me using similar cards too, like Chao Fang with Lights against Exo and using hand rips in Dark World. I do play Droll too. These guys' decks are just all side deck cards, by the way. But I think that's a necessary evil up until this point. I at least justify the use of these under the basis of Alistair using these as well, so it's only fair that I do too. Am I out of line or asking too much here? I'm honestly not too sure. Should I accept that sometimes? I should accept the fact that these things happen. I understand my hypocrisy. Okay, you guys are playing against only each other. Just ban the fucking floodgates. Don't play these dumbass... Like, if every game you're playing against your friend is summon a floodgate, like, if you're just playing against each other, like, no one's forcing you. Like, I know you played Trap Tricks in 2023 and you thought Nightmares were cool because they look cheap, but you don't have to play floodgates against each other. Am I going... I feel like I'm going insane here. I'm sorry. Like, someone else say something.
Okay, here.
I think this is...
I'll...
Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah,
you go first, buddy. I'll go next.
Oh, okay. First off, well, combo boy. Did someone get addicted to their cards resolving? I don't know. Okay, so I think what this person is rubbing up against is just like the design of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is in boarded games for the past 3 or 4 years, it has become commonplace to just have a card in your side deck that wins you the match immediately. If you're only playing against the same 2 people, you can just main deck those cards and play non-Yu-Gi-Oh 60 to 70% of the time. That sucks. I understand that's not fun for either player. I think the two of you need to have a conversation about what you want to be doing in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because if what you want to be doing is watching your opponent squirm, it makes sense why you would play Dark World and get mad if they interrupt you. But if what you want to do is interact with each other, you're going to have to get familiar with the concept of not playing cards against your friends because they aren't fun. Like, I know it's not a competitive mentality. I understand it's not the best you could be doing at the game, but if you're only playing against one person and your goal isn't to win against them all the time, but rather to have fun with your friends, sometimes you are going to have to not include cards that automatically win you the game on the spot. That's true for you, and it's true for your friend, and it's true not only for individual cards, like, I guess, Abyss Dweller, but also for strategies, like, I'm going to sit and watch you go off with Dark World for 45 minutes. I mean, to be fair, this
I gotta
is like
react
a
to
larger
someone in chat real quick.
Had.
They said this. You could argue this is a competitive mentality because it's practicing game ones. Oh yeah, the game one non-fusion area. You're right. Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah.
And they're not going to tournaments. What game one? Anyway.
No, but like it's a position where like, you're getting into a position where it's like you are running up against a similar problem that everyone in Yu-Gi-Oh is running up against, which is a lot of the time, a lot of boarded games are not very fun. And the way you get to resolve that by virtue of playing with your friend is you just elect not to play the cards that aren't fun. But I don't know, what do you want out of the game? If you want your opponent to enter a funny scenario where they can't do anything, then you keep playing them. Otherwise, you don't.
Yeah, I think I think one thing I realized is your friend maybe found another way to have fun in the game. And that's through deck building, right? And I know it seems really stupid.
You over.
No, I know it seems really stupid, but like some people maybe enjoy that. I'm only playing against this one person. You know what? I'm going to make them be
I'm gonna find that
blown out of the
counter.
water by this one card, and we're gonna laugh about it.
I'm
it'll
gonna
be
play
funny.
Lullaby of Obedience and Magician Girls. Yeah, like
and
that,
the next
you know,
thing you
like,
would have to do is they're hoping. This is their hope. It's not an ideal scenario. They want you to do the same thing. Like, okay, you've played nothing but Labyrinth for 6 weeks. Let me put 3 red reboot in my deck and trap stun and everything. And,
They're seeing it as
there we
a
go.
thing
Now
of
we're having fun,
counters
right?
and
yeah,
reverse
or like a
counters. Yeah.
challenge, like a little friendly challenge. Like, oh, could you one up me next? And I think you just have to be honest and say like, this isn't like fun for me. I don't see like playing these non-games or playing these floodgates as exciting. Like, it's like when I used to build decks for like as a kid, like, you know what's like at your local scene, right? You know what everybody plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I knew everybody at my local played nothing but trap decks, just straight up stun, and I was like, oh well, you know what? I still want to rock into locals fair, and I'm gonna play cards like Drool and Lockbird and stuff like that because it's standard. Or like, I don't know. I feel like
This is just very a hyper, specific metagame of just these two people that like play. I think you're totally right though. I think that we all have friends that really like finding ways to troll or whatever, and I think that's how they're getting enjoyment from the game. But it's not fun to people don't like getting floodgated in tournaments, but you play them because you're trying to win. But if you really are just sitting down and like playing against friends not testing, like, yeah, it's not fun to play against those cards. I don't know.
I think the insane like context and backdrop here is like they started playing literally last year, well, like 23, I guess, from Masadu. They started with the absolute basics of Yu-Gi-Oh, just a structure deck versus a structure deck, and then they created this arms race to one up each other with the cards that they start adding in. Like they've clearly gone into like Google, typed in like how to beat Dart World, and then like she found Dweller, and it's like, and now they're trying to like constantly one up each other, and it's like, in a way, I think that's good because like they are developing their skills as duelists, which is to counter strategies that is part of the metagame. Their metagame being, their friend group, but obviously Joseph, I think, is really right, where I think you do need to sit down and talk to each other and be like, okay, well, what are we trying to get out of this? Yeah. Are we trying to compete and improve our decks that we can, then take to a tournament? Or are we just having, kitchen table duels against one another? Because I don't think floodgates are fun in that context, but Gage kind of actually raises an interesting point.
Yeah.
Maybe that person is having fun floodgating their opponent. Like, it's a weird sadistic kind of approach, but some people really just love
it's like a
doing
deck
that.
building. Like, they're thinking that it's cool. Like, I think Gage really hit something when saying that, like, they're more into the deck building aspect because, yeah, they're having fun finding the counters to the opponent's strategy where the opponent seems to just want to play.
Yeah, the problem is you mentioned like an arms race, and I think that's like exactly what it is. The problem is there's only one person participating in this arms race. The other person doesn't care to add all those floodgates, and the other person was like, oh, but you play Chao Feng. But Chao Feng's like, that's standard in all these Sword Soul decks, right? Like you already
but you're
automatically
not
play the
actually making
I
it
just
turn
happened
one
to make
unless
it
you
with
like
light,
know.
and it just happens.
Xiao
right?
Feng call light in the dark. I don't know if that's particularly.
Chao Feng doesn't call light. You use materials to make it, so it's like. It's just you happen to use the light material. That's not like out there. That's not like Proto. It's not like you play nothing but Mermail and then I summon Protos and I'm like,
If I'm playing against an Exosister
player
player though, and they Chao Feng me every game, it's like, come on.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
similarly
problem.
unfun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, don't forget, they are being a little bit hypocritical. They did admit that they have been playing Droll themselves, right?
Well,
so,
and they have also been, I mean, we get a little bit of insight into what they're playing, but they're playing Silva Handloop Dark World. Like, is that fun for the other person?
I didn't think about
exactly?
that. True.
I mean, we don't know that they're hand looping.
I
They're
think-
just playing Dark World.
he did. He said that. He said,
No,
see, Doug,
hand
you read
rips
it, but
in
you
Dark
skimmed over
World.
it. You didn't get that part because you're reading so fast. But they did say hand
so
rips.
Here's what I think is actually the solution that you should do, is meet their energy. If they're playing like Abyss Dweller, you need to be playing like Imperms. If they're playing non-fusion area, you need to be playing like main deck Twin Twisters or Cosmic Cyclone.
God, you're not suggesting
if-
compare your hand Yu-Gi-Oh, man. Come on.
I think that's the
Dear,
quickest way
cite
to
your
like.
name, Yu-Gi-Oh!
cite
Welcome
the-
to fucking
can you cite your
Yu-Gi-Oh!
sources on them saying hand rip Dark World? I just read the whole thing and didn't see that. Oh, it's
And
the last
using hand
last
rips
sentence.
in
Okay,
Dark
okay,
World.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
It's
I
this
think
one
like
right here.
I think you're right though, Joseph, because it goes one of two ways, right? It's either once you start doing that, once you initiate the arms race, it's either, wow, this is actually fun. We're both having a great time upgrading our decks and trying to one-up everybody week. Or the other person says, hey, this isn't fun anymore. What do you mean? Why do you get to play all these floodgates? And then you ban them. You realize, wow, actually, this Yu-Gi-Oh fucking sucks. Let's go back to the fair Yu-Gi-Oh.
Playing the game.
I don't think you're wrong or I'm wrong here, though, because it's like, I think you need to discuss goals, right? It's like, you can say, like, okay, well, you need to bring in Imperm, you need to bring in Cosmic, but it's like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Are we
you need to have, like,
build
the
our decks to be
relationship,
competitively
what
viable?
are we conversation, you know?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah, is it
It's
kitchen
also
table
really
Yu-Gi-Oh
weird
for
to
fun, or is it competitive?
It's strange
like...
to call. It's strange to call play outs to floodgates hand comparison Yu-Gi-Oh, which I see everyone in the chat is doing. You guys understand how Yu-Gi-Oh works, right? Like, it is no more hand comparison Yu-Gi-Oh than if you are playing into hand loop Dark World with no points of interaction, right?
Well, yeah, that's the
It's
point.
same
Both
thing.
decks are guilty of this. Like, both of these people are guilty of, like, you know, hand ripping with Dark World multiple times with Silva. That's just floodgates with extra steps.
Let's take one further step back, okay? Farfa, what does a game of Yu-Gi-Oh look like to you?
Well, that's what these people need to discuss, right?
These people should go to a
it's
local,
my
get their
decision.
ass kicked, and then be like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad when we were just playing with each other. Like, I don't know.
Like, it's not up to me to answer that question. It's what do these two want from each other? Like, it sounds like one of them is trying to have fun, the other one's trying to, like,
I'm
compete.
saying there's, like, 2 or 3 different play styles they can adapt to have more fun, and everyone in the comments is like, ugh, that's unfun for a different reason. And it's like, at some degree, cards like Dimension Barrier, cards like Dimension Shifter, cards like Non-Fusion Arena, probably not, are all sort of woven into the fabric of Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you don't like those, you don't like playing those answers, you don't like playing the hand traps that deal with them, and you don't like playing the strategies that ignore them, you may just want to play a different game. Like,
No.
Or play sealed.
No.
Or play
No.
sealed. Or play sealed.
Yeah, there's
play
multiple
sealed.
ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh outside of, you know, standard competitive meta. What do you mean? Like, that's why they need to discuss it, because they started with structure decks. That's like fun for a lot of people. They can play like with random pulls. They can play with like other decks that don't have floodgates.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is if they're not having fun playing this, like, what has become, for better or for worse, a more competitive version of constructed Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe it's time to play something else. That doesn't have to be
when you say
magic.
something-
It can
when-
be.
Okay,
it can be
well,
like Battle City sealed decks from Speed
Sure.
Duel.
It's just when you say
I know.
something
I know
else,
if I
the
mention
implication is-
something that's not Yu-Gi-Oh, you people have a conniption. But it is possible they would have more enjoyment playing something that removes these design elements.
Something
You can remove those design elements in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Something I think that's interesting that I'm realizing this is I actually learned from another really popular podcast called Will of the Council. I'm looking at this again, and I feel like this prompt, like, I feel like it suffers from, like, bias because it's written from the person, like, their person's perspective, right?
Always,
like,
yeah.
what,
They're missing a lot of
Submission
shit.
we're not even thinking, like, what if they were the first person to play the FTK Dark World, right? And then their friend was
They
like,
were.
well, damn, this isn't any fun for me. I'm getting my ass whooped. Let me play Shifter. And then this guy's like, oh, he's playing Shifter now? He's playing Macrocosmos? What the heck? I can't hand loop him for
But
fun.
you have
I
to
gotta
look from the
destroy his
perspective of the
infernal
new
flame
player.
emperor.
They're just looking at what structure decks are available and going, oh, that looks cool, and then buying it, and it's like, oh, inherently the way the deck works is it hand loops the opponent. Like, it's not their fault for picking up that structure deck. Like, I don't know.
And that's why I'm saying it might be worth considering playing something that isn't necessarily constructed Yu-Gi-Oh! Because when your entry point into the game teaches you the way to play the game is to Silva hand loop, you're not going to be able to, we're banning floodgates our way into playing something fun.
Yeah.
That's why the only way to play this game is to open 20 Master Packs.
I was about to say,
and
just
10
just open 20
Spin a
Master
wheel.
Packs
Hell
every
yeah.
week, play against each other on Master Duel. You guys will have so much fun. Like, I guarantee it. Do that.
All right, so what do we think here? Are we picking a culprit
No one's
of
the asshole.
sorts?
They
Should
just
we-
need to talk to each other like
yeah, just
people.
talk to your friend. Talk to your friend.
There's nothing wrong with feeling upset that you're getting floodgated out of the game. There's nothing wrong with feeling a little hypocritical that you're playing uninteractive decks. Have a discussion with your friend about where you are.
Give them a hug, go on a date, marry them, do what you got to do to get them to stop playing floodgates. I don't know.
I'll do the Henschel. You are forgiven.
99% of these disagreements can be solved by just communication. It is very true. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing this episode of Dharma Time. I still don't actually really have a name for it. It's kind of a work in progress.
It's okay. It's the finale. You don't need a name.
It's the finale.
Will
Unfortunately,
of the
you guys haven't
Wonk
watched it.
Cell.
Hopefully, I gotta tweak some things. If you guys have any feedback, then let me know. I would like to continue this, but it feels like the numbers haven't been there, but we'll see how it goes. Thanks for the Wonky Quartet for joining me this week.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Say bye. Say bye.